It's another hot and sunny Sunday in Sepang here in Malaysia for race 2 of the Asian Le Mans series, and yesterday's race had just about everything. The winning car had a penalty to overcome on its last pit stop. The LMP3 Victor had been in the gravel during the race, and in GT the lead changed at the last corner and changed again in the stewards room. There was contact between the two cars that came across the line virtually side by side. There was also some rain that made the team's strategies go out of the window. And for today's race, where they're going to be hoping it's dry all the way through, the grid is already set based on the second best qualifying time, so that means we're ready to go racing.
Riding on board the number 64 Nielsen racing car at the Sepang International Circuit here, 5.5 kilometres, 15 turns, down to turn 1, hard on the brakes, all the way down to about 70 k's an hour here. Long right-hander here, turn 1, and then flicking it back as it just plunges downhill here at turn 2. Important to get hard on the power, using all of that exit curb up through the gears, plunging downhill here now, before you start then elevating back up into turn 4, 255 k's an hour before hard on the brakes, and then trying to just spot that apex here at turn 4, 90 k's an hour, traction a little bit limited there. And then back to the left-hander downhill here at turn 5, passing the Kessel 296 before flicking back right. Careful of that apex curve there at 6. Track limits here on the exit of 6. And before coming into turn 7, tricky right-hander, double right-hander. A little bit of understeer there, just trying to get the power down and off of turn 8. Running down here into turn 9. We've got the P3 car in front. Hard on the brakes through 70 k's an hour again here at turn 9. Traction's a bit limited there as you're coming off, and then trying to work our way through and past the P3 car. I think it's the Virage car in front. Turn 11 there, a little bit of apex curb, and then looking to go up the inside into turn 12. It's a bit of a breathe here, tight line, and then we're going to be running out and just a little bit of exit curb there, and then spotting this very tricky break point for turn 14. Super important, can't quite get back to the apex there at 14. Then it's up through the box, going all the way up to 275 k's an hour here, 6th gear, coming all the way down into turn 15. We've got one of the Corvette Z06 GT3s in front, just spotting that break point, and the Corvette goes in the pit lane. I think that confuses Alex a little bit there, and then using all of that exit curb as you're coming through off of turn 15 to complete another lap here at the Sepang International Circuit.
A really dramatic start to our new Asian Le Mans Series season here in Sepang, and yesterday, Graham Goodwin, it was a race that had everything.
It did. Weather, action, drama, you name it. Chetelar Racing taking a win on their debut in the Asian Le Mans Series. That's their first step on the road to Le Mans, they hope. Beyond that, pretty much everybody involved in P2 had a moment in the sun and the rain and everything else. Strategies came and strategies went out the window when we got the rain bands coming through. P3, carnage at turn 2, but we ended up with an absolutely stunning finish in that class, and I think we've got more to come if those cars can get through the tricky first lap.
It was good in LMP3. Ollie Gavin GT, the story wasn't over even when they took the flag.
No, it wasn't. It was raging right from lap 1. GT, it's stacked with talent, great teams, great lineup, and we had every manufacturer coming to the front. Porsche and Mercedes were the ones that really did spend a lot of time there in P1, and it was even like that as we came to the very last corner on the last lap. Mercedes, Porsche, side by side, banging wheels. Porsche got the win initially, but then the penalty turned it around and the Mercedes ended up taking first, Porsche second, and then the Aston Martin Mercury Ecos came through in third. But it is a stacked field, and we're expecting way more action here today in the race 2.
It shows how competitive it is. 4-hour race, and it comes down to the last corner. And that was only race 1. What can we expect today?
More of the same. P2, 16 cars, the best, deepest, most competitive field we've ever had in the top class in the Asian Le Mans Series. A good majority of those cars have got a prospect of getting a good result, and they're going to want to turn around the misfortunes of 1 or 2 of them from yesterday's, because they're the same in all 3 classes. I'm looking forward to 4 hours of massive action.
The grid is based on the second best time set in the qualifying session, and we are ready to go racing.
Sunday at Sepang in Malaysia and under sunny skies, race 2 would get underway for the 2025 Asian Le Mans Series. 6 rounds in the championship this year, and this was the end of the weekend in Malaysia. Teams crowded around the cars, ready to go. 45 starters it would be on a packed grid of LMP2, LMP3 and GT3 cars. Weather played a part in Saturday's race. Would it interrupt these sunny conditions? Temperature playing on John Falb there as he prepared to climb aboard the number 20 car. And this, despite the caption, is the pole position car. Jens Reiner Müller, it would be. The Danish driver aboard the Danish high-class racing team car. Pole position for the 49 on their return to Asia Le Mans Series competition. Thierry Bouvet, the technical director of the ACO, and Nico Lapierre chatting on the grid. Grid beginning to clear as race start drew near. Michael Jensen ready to climb aboard the reigning champion and the Argyle Pro Racing team car. 5th on the grid for yesterday's race winner, Chetila Racing, Roberto Lacorte, their bronze driver, ready to start the race. It would be all the bronze drivers starting for race 2. And they, of course, lead the points battle. Richard Dean from United Autosports talking to Pierre Fillon and Fred Leclerc. The European Le Mans Series championship winning LMP3 squad, the 17 car. Pole position in LMP3 with their new look driver squad. Paul Lancher, though, would be staying with the team in Asia after victory in Europe. Tried to put another title on the shelf for the team that come from Switzerland. Packed grandstands for Ajit Kumar opposite the number 1 Team Virage Garage. The Indian actor proving a very popular addition to the grid this year. All buttoned up, all strapped in and just about ready to go. Pole position in GT for the number 66 JMR Corvette. Yasser Shaheen putting the car on pole position by almost a full second. Cracking effort from the Australian driver. Just about now ready to go. Championship manager Colin Ong ready to release the cars behind the leading car for the 2 formation laps. What a sight this record grid this year makes. Green flag for those 2 formation laps, and all 45 cars would get away cleanly. Sky's beginning to get darker to the south of the circuit. And with the cars coming round under the control of pole position man Jens Reiner Müller, they would wait for the red lights on the start gantry to go out and start the race.
GT, the gap is too big. GT, front row, the gap is too big.
At the start, Jens Reiner Müller kept his line. Giorgio Roda going to the pit wall, 5 wide briefly in this pack of LMP2s, but it would be a little bit too deep into the corner from Giorgio Roda, and Jens Reiner Müller's patience paid off through turn 1 and taking the lead again into turn 2. There'd be contact behind, though, from the number 6 United Autosports car on the number 3 from DKR Engineering. And Alexander Matschel would have to wait for the gap in the traffic. That gap in GT paid off for him. He would manage to rejoin the race safely, although with delay. Aside from that, though, after the melee in turn 2 of Saturday's race, it was all through safely. Side by side, though, in the early stages between the 66 Corvette and the 37 AMG. Atari team again going well in the opening stages. CLX Motorsports running well too at the head of the LMP3 grid. Big battles up and down the order in this packed GT3 class, as through to retake some of those lost positions comes Alexander Matschel. Nemo, the DKR Engineering number 3 Orica, picking off the GT cars as he tried to get back to the train of LMP2s. No easy feat with these cars involved in their own battles at the start of this race. But by the end of lap 2, already pretty much past the GT pack. Up front, it was Jens Reino Müller trying to hold off Giorgio Roda, but Roda had his mirrors full of the Inter-Europol 43 car. Battle here between Michael Jensen, over and under on his ex-teammate at Algarve Pro Racing, Kreitel and Tunis. The Corvette still leading at this stage, being closed in on though by the number 9 Get Speed Mercedes, with the WRT BMW, a new engine fitted overnight to that car, under attack from the Akurikos Blackthorn car. Roda back into the lead with the undercut at turn 15. Kolovos looming large in the mirrors now of the Dane. It was the 1-2-3 after just 8 minutes. We've seen 2 different changes of lead, and there would be more to come. Here's how he did it. Went to the inside, and Müller, realising that the United Autosports man had the quicker car at that stage. Positional changes up and down the order still in GT3. That would continue for the full 4 hours of running. Contact there on the Porsche, on the number 11 Corvette. This was part of the run to the front from Bob Duhan in the Origine Motorsport number 87 car. He would prove to be mighty on the brakes. This was the first of a number of huge overtakes as he used the best that the Porsche braking system could offer. Kolovos, meantime, trying to do the same as Roda had done to Jens Reino Müller into turn 15. Would take a final lunge at it as there's a brake smoke from the leading car, going slightly wide but keeping on the island. Kolovos through into second place. Bernardo Souza closing in, meanwhile, in the all-green number 22 Proton competition car in 4th to get into the lead battle. On board with the Kessel Racing car of Memo Gidley, closing in on the Origin car and trying to follow that car through. Another mighty overtake had taken the place from Gidley, keeping the car out the back of the Proton car ahead. Bob Duhan was on the charge again. Further moves, this time the number 20 car of John Falb on the 30 of Fred Pordad. And Kolovos through into the lead of the race. What a mighty start from the Greek driver in his new team, ahead of Giorgio Roda in his new team. So much new look efforts here in the Asia Le Mans series. Again, how it was done, got to the apex of the turn and just claimed the ground in front and started to motor away in the 43 car. Approval from the Polish Bakers team, perhaps less so from United Autosports' Gregoire Saucy, sitting watching on, waiting for his turn to take the wheel. The battle for second place in GT. The 66 JMR Corvettes led this little battle pack ahead of the Get Speed AMG and the Akurikos 56 Aston Martin. Bob Duhan, though, was looking to get involved too, and he was closing in on this lead battle. Still retaining the lead, Georgios Kolovos, towards the end of the first half hour as they closed in on the first routine pit stops. It was the QMMF by Get Speed car of Al-Khalafi that was pouring in the laps and eking out a really good advantage. Side by side here, Aston Blattner and Tony McIntosh. Kessel Racing 74 Ferrari were on board with Tony McIntosh and the re-engined Team WRT BMW. Almost had enough to fend that attack off, but not quite. Ahead of him, Prince Jeffrey in the number 99 JMR Corvette. Meantime, battles galore. This time the 20 and the 4, both APR prepared cars. That was a miscalculation from Bernardo Souza, the number 22 Proton car. He'd turn it around, he'd get it back on the straight and narrow, losing a little bit of time and the odd place in doing so. Fouled, and George Kurtz heavily involved. The number 6 car also trying to get involved in that battle. Brush between the number 89 EBM Aston Martin and the Racing Team Turkey, the 34 TF Sport prepared Corvette. That would send both cars around. They'd be back in action, but it wouldn't be the last troubles that the Turkish Enter car would have. LMP3, meanwhile, in the battle for 4th place. Far less early race incidents, but the rain was starting to fall for the first time of several in this race. The 85 Duquesne trying to chase down the 13 Inter-Europol car. It was the Inter-Europol car that had gone through to take that position. Race winners from yesterday. Now, rainwater bouncing off the windscreen. Bob Yuan looking to get underneath the Aston Martin. Managed it there. Giacomo Petrobelli trying to fight back, but grip was at a premium at this stage. Managed to get up the inside again. This part of the track bone dry, and part of the real problem that the rainy conditions have been causing at Sepang all weekend. Part of the track sopping wet, part of it absolutely dry. And this is where the move was made by Bob Yuan. Up the inside of the Aston Martin. Petrobelli, though, wasn't done and was trying to stick with the programme. Suddenly, though, the rain was coming, and coming very hard and very fast. And almost a dark line across the circuit to where the rest of it was dry. All these cars at this point on dry weather tyres, so tippy-toe stuff in the early part of the lap. Side by side still in this fantastic battle for 4th place, but again on the brakes, the Chinese driver just had the more confidence in what he had underneath him in the prevailing conditions. In the background, the JMR Corvette looking to get involved, and unsurprisingly wet weather tyres were being readied, but not quickly enough for the 70 or the 6, both having individual incidents, with the number 9 running across the gravel in the background. But there'd be bigger trouble still for the 66 Corvette, Yasser Shaheen, spinning off into the gravel as the 2 Oricas recovered. There'd be bigger dramas ahead at turn 3, as First and Terracao found the same standing water. Big damage for both cars there. Then the United Autosports McLaren spun, thankfully harmlessly, between the two. But with a degree of inevitability, there was further problems ahead. An appearing stage left. The Racing Team Turkey Corvette spun rear-to-rear contact, and that was all she wrote for the number 66 JMR car. The 34 car would make its way back to the garage, but would be the end of their effective role in the race as a competitive option. This was Daniel Schneider first to find the standing water, followed by Phil Thayer in the number 6 car. Both those cars would rejoin, and yeah, it doesn't look any better in slow motion, does it? And Terracao, big impact, ripping the rear diffuser out to the rear of the Porsche and destroying the front end of the Corvette, the number 66 car that started in pole position. Sounded no better from the inside either. And then the dagger to the heart, as it were. Terracao could do nothing but wait to see whether or not that McLaren would stop in time. And then the final move in this piece, spinning through, was the number 34 car. We'd be damaged to the left rear of the 34. That car would come into the pit lane. It would be the start of a number of problems that would effectively end the race for the fabulous looking but unlucky in this regard Racing Team Turkey effort.
Leader slow down, please.
Going
Leader
back
to
to
slow
TF
down.
Sport to see what could be done. Safety car by this time, of course, was out, bringing the field under control.
Safety car in this lap is wrong information. I confirm safety car in this lap is wrong information. Ignore.
Giorgio Roda led again at this stage and would power away with a big advantage as teams had stopped 4 tyres, making its way up the order, notably here the Cetilar racing car, Roberto Lacorte, 56 minutes into the race. Race winners yesterday, looking to score more big points here today. But beyond the GT cars in chaos, pretty much everybody else in fairly good order at this stage. 5 in the 49 still battling for first as we got to the end of the first hour. Run offline there for the Inter-Europol car. Car would hit trouble later on, with a strong run being ruined by a seemingly small issue for that car, but just delayed it enough. Side by side as John Falb tried to actually put a move on the 43. Kojos Kolovas defending there. Falb though attempting to push the point, and that move would not be done there. Falb would stick with the programme. Battle for third place at the end of what had been an instant-filled first hour. He'd move on up the order to third a little later on. And Bernardo Souza and Roberto Lacorte looking to take advantage as the choice of tyre began to play. A mix of choices, staying on the slicks and going to wet weather tyres, was beginning to play a major part at this phase in the race. By now, John Falb led the order. His tyre choice proving to be the right one, the slicks coming back in as Roberto Lacorte too started to make progress. Cetilar looking stronger and stronger as we got deeper into the race. In GT, almost dramas for the TS Sport car, but Blake McDonald managed to duck out of potential clash with the spinning 23 events Ligier. And too long on wets for 43. I'd seen that car drop out of the top 10. The 25 car, meanwhile, making the same move at this point of proceedings, and away they would go back into the fray. Roda, and off for Jens Rayla Moller, trying to follow the United car around, but running over the curb and through the gravel. And the Proton car, meanwhile, finding a way by the number 5 United Autosports car into second place. It would have been a topsy-turvy first hour and more. Gravel pouring out of the recovering high-class racing car. The 88 Proton car, the Felbermeyer colours, going by the United car too. Weather radar is being watched and still moves galore in GT. 88 and the 4 now. Crowd strike by APR car, trying to make progress back up the order after a tricky start for the long-time race-winning car. 25 car now on the slick tyres and fighting to get onto terms with the 22. Get that job done down into turn 3, trying to hug the apex as the 22 car ran a little wide, had to give up the place. Third place to APR. This was the battle meanwhile for fourth in GT. Two big German marks. And it had been the number 9 AMG that had managed to get by Tony McIntosh's BMW. But the BMW a significantly more competitive proposition after the engine change overnight. Now the revived 43 tucks in behind the 22. Goes up the inside into turn 1. Far more confidence with the tyre underneath him now. But that 4th place would not be easily given up by the Proton car. Really, it was the traffic ahead that decided that particular scuffle. APR still led the race. The 25 APR car up to 3rd. Into Europol, up to 4th, and trying now to put pressure on the 25 car ahead. This was that move again. Started out of turn 15. Looked like it might be settled into turn 1. Fight back from the Proton car, and a gutsy dive into turn 2 settled the matter. John Falb, though, was roaring away. 37 laps for him, and leading the race from the Châtelet Racing car now in 2nd place, as he dealt with traffic in the manner of Bob Yuan, pushing on in the Origine 87 Porsche. Fine effort from John Falb. Leading in LMP3 was the 23 Events Racing number 71 car. Terence Woodward having a much better day than yesterday's race that had finished for him at turn 2 on lap 1. High winds, though, boded badly for what would come later in the race. RD Limited's James Allen was now on a tear aboard the car. He would deal with the number 5 United Autosports car, as enclosed the number 3 from DKR for the positions at the bottom of the point scoring order. Trouble for Charlie Samani in the 51 Ferrari, losing the car under braking at turn 13. Battles raged on in P2. DKR car moving by the 5, but that position will be reversed again. Stream of cars coming tearing down towards turn 15. Trying to find which line would work the best as John Falb into the pits from the lead. This battle, meanwhile, for 6th place. Side by side and a quick touch between there's Felix Felbermeyer and in the number 88 and the number 5 from United Autosports. The 3 also in there and trying to get into terms with the young Felbermeyer, the younger of the 2, the father and son effort. Griffin Peoples, the highly talented young man that lit up LMP3 in the Asia Le Mans Series last year, is doing the same again in LMP2. From the lead of the Racing GT, another fantastic stint. Qatari bronze driver in the 37, Abdullah Al-Khalafi, out of the car. As the stream of GT cars behind came in too, including both WRT cars. Number 4 CrowdStrike by APR car on pit lane, ready to go, with driver changes having been executed. Châtelet Racing now moving from the AM to the Pro phase. Charles Malaysia aboard as the race approached the halfway mark, and he would get stuck in immediately. The Alpine hypercar driver, dealing both with GT traffic and the challenge from behind from the 25 car. Enzo Trulli aboard the 25. The 5 United Autosports car, the hands of Gregoire Saucy.
9, 8, 7,
And then the rain
6,
came again.
5, 4, 2, 1. Virtual safety car deployed. Virtual safety car.
With cars skating off the track at the final turn, including the number 9 car. Also an LMP2 car stuck in the gravel there. Breton Racing's number 26 car.
Side of T50.
Stuck in the gravel, and that would take some time to recover as the rain started to pour down. The 25 car, meanwhile, with Enzo Trulli having put in a sterling effort, was down pit lane, one of the first of the lead group to do so. Charmelacy still at the wheel of the 47 car, looking good again for Chatelard Racing. This car looked comfortable in pretty much all weather conditions. CrowdStrike car 2 onto pit lane. The inevitable wet weather rubber required here. The driver change. Louis Delatraz. The Algarve Pro Racing team going to work. Track conditions treacherous, and it was a matter under now the safety car being called, keeping everything on the island. So Algarve Pro Racing on the exchanges through the pit stops back to the lead of the race from Chatelard Racing and into Europol, still in contention at this point. Again, the time gaps would mean nothing, cars behind the safety car. Still, the sky is pretty leaden. There were some bright patches beyond. Would there be a gap in the weather? But would it return? Castle Racing, meanwhile, led in GT. Selex Motorsport, after a blinding piece of strategy in an early safety car, would lead LMP3. Swiss team swallowing up both required long stops in a single virtual safety car, giving themselves a real edge later in the race. Back of the order, the sad news of the retirement of the 10 Montai car and the 66. Of course, the heavily damaged Corvette out of the race too. Back to green flag running, and nose to tail the top two cars, with Ben Hanley trying to unlap himself in the number 6 car, third in the order here. So it would be one opportunity to get back to the lead lap for United, and it was right now. Algarve Pro Racing, the 25 car, trying to fend off the close attention of Charmelacy. Enzo Trulli would have to give best at this point, but it wasn't done yet. Trying to get alongside, that didn't quite work. Tucking in behind and opting to keep up the chase. Ben Hanley, though, would unlap himself for the second place car, leaving the Algarve Pro Racing driver to soak up the pressure from the chain behind. Meantime, move up the inside from the CrowdStrike car on the number 43, and that would leave Milton Jakobsen pulling up behind Enzo Trulli. Battle of the young guns and the APR run cars. The current Peugeot factory man to the outside. Enzo Trulli was having none of that. The coming of age drive from the young Italian. Peugeot hypercar driver meets son of Formula 1 driver. Trulli under attack now from Nick Cassidy in the 43 car. But Charmelacy trying to power away. Battle for third place. The Qatari AMG had dropped back into the clutches of the BMW, would drop back into fourth place at this stage as the Duquesne from RSGP tried to deal with the GT traffic. Not easy in these conditions with the ABS on these GT3 cars, mightily fast. Interproton battle meanwhile for 8th position. The 88 ahead of the 22. Have a look at the pass from the 69 car. Parker Thompson it was, putting the move on the 87. Battles everywhere you looked in LMP2 throughout this race. Matt Kaiser, Matthias Besch. Matthias Besch of the DCAR engineering car, looking to go around the outside of the number 20 APR car, and with Kaiser bottled up behind the Ferrari in blinding spray. Took a brave move from Besch to power by on the outside, leaving Kaiser at risk of losing a further place to the 88 car behind. Into the pits for the 43 into Europol car. Still very much in the fight at the moment. Chetelaar Racing were looking increasingly comfortable with an increasing lead over the CrowdStrike car, Milte Jakobsen. Meantime, two class leaders together, Chetelaar and CLX. Kevin Rabin it was, running a conservative race at this stage. They knew they had the pit stop advantage in the back. Followed closely though by the Team Virage car just stepping out there in through turn 1 into turn 2, but trying to stick with the programme. Nikita Patel it was trying to take the fight to Kevin Rabin. To the final hour, the conditions still very tricky indeed, but there would be the opportunity for CLX Motorsport to put their authority on this race. Trouble though have been looming for a while for the 43 car. Nolan Siegel just aboard the car and would stop twice on track with an electronics issue. It's towards the bottom of the top 10, battle between the Get Speed AMG, the winner from Saturday, and the 21 car from AF Corsa that ended its race in the wall after an unfortunate incident with the other Get Speed car as the race was going back to green flag running. That move was made. Alessia Rivera was through into 7th place. Castle Racing though had played a blinding bit of strategy in pit work to put their car out to the front of the race. Dennis Marshall was taking every advantage he could under pressure from the Origin car with Lauren Heinrich aboard. Looking forward to what could and should have been an absolutely epic end to this race. Kessel Racing's Dennis Marshall, Origin fielding Lauren Heinrich, and the 69 WRT car still there in 3rd place with Dan Harper behind other very competitive cars too. The Kessel car was looking strong. Into the final stages and final pit stops for the LMP2 runners. Trouble for the number 20 APR car, wheel that would not come off, and that would cost a few seconds. Further problems for Inter Europol, that electronic gremlin hitting them again, seemingly every time immediately post a pit stop. This time, before it left pit lane, that would cost the team another couple of positions. Battle for second though was not done. This was the 25 car going by the 4, just 38 minutes to go. Tom Dillman taking the fight to the 4 car and grabbing the place into and through, or was it the final turn? They go wheel to wheel, but the 25 had just enough straight line speed to make this count. 2nd place secured. Bit of a brush between the two. 4 car wasn't going to give this one up. But eventually would have to give best. The battle of the 2 APR entered cars, or 2 of the APR entered cars, was done for the moment at least. Truly and Jakobsen. George Kurtz not very happy, but would have to give best to it. Sami Megatuniv taking on new dry weather rubber for the final half hour of the race. Bit of a mix up there with the air gun. There'll be a slight delay before the French Formula 2 start. They'll get it under. Then trouble with the number 6 car of Phil de Resta being pitched off with an impact from the number 3 car. And that car would be stuck and require assistance. 26 minutes to go and a storm closing in. Another car off as well, the number 1 car. Julian Gerby stuck in a deep gravel trap. That too would require intervention. That was the impact from the DKR car on the number 6. And as that recovery was being arranged, the weather was closing in. That's what it felt like and looked like from Paul de Resta's point of view. Nothing he could do about that. Safety car was called for the recovery of those 2 cars, but the skies were darkening very rapidly indeed. And it would not be long before the rain started to pour again, visibly here. Amata Ferrari from Air Corsa and Roberto Lacorte waiting on to see what the decision would be. And after a couple of laps beyond the safety car, with 13 minutes left on the clock, the decision was inevitable. It would be a red flag, and seconds later the announcement would come that that was it. There will be celebrations for Cetala Racing, a double win for the Italian team. Delighted with what has been a near perfect weekend. Charles getting the congratulations of Amata Ferrari. Utterly delighted, but no more delighted than Roberto Lacorte, the man behind this entire effort, building up to this and a mighty step towards Le Mans. 4 more races to come, of course, but 2 wins in the bag that have taken that at the start of the race. Antonio Fuoco had driven a controlled race to the point where the decision was taken that it was not safe to continue, and that decision was correct. 2 perfect races from the Italian team. Kessel Racing 2. Great race from all 3 drivers on track, and great pit work that have given them the track position they needed to take the win in GT3. There is our LMP2 winner somewhere there in the murk. Roberto Lacorte, Charles Malaysia, Antonio Fuoco, the squad that would bring home the 25 points on Sunday. Utter and complete delight from everybody involved here. They, of course, the team supporting this effort are a proud bunch. GT winner, the 74 car from Kessel Racing, the Swiss squad. Justin Plattner, Chris Lullum with a great middle stint. Dennis Marshall bringing it home. And a full team performance here. The pit crew able to leapfrog the opposition in a late race pit stop. And CLX Motorsport, what a result for them too. The LMP3 winners, after disappointment yesterday, a stunning piece of pit strategy from them, secured the win. Meanwhile, the rain pouring down, just re-emphasising that decision was correct. Paul Ancher there, he put in the heavy lifting at the start of the race. That is for Edgar, his son, at home in hospital. Get well soon, Edgar. That's why the red flag was called. We've got 1 single person on pit lane and certainly nobody out on track. arguing with that decision. The correct way to end this race was competitively on track and not because of damaged cars caused by this sort of weather. Weather that only Sepang, it seems, can produce, and it does so unpredictably but regularly. Two great races in Malaysia to start the season. And Antonio Fuoco, protected by the umbrella, coming down towards the podium to take the plaudits. Soaking wet but successful Ligier. It's Jacobi, Kevin Rabin and Paul Ancher, the winners. The same for the GT winning Kessel Racing Ferrari. Justin Blattner, Chris Lullum and Dennis Marshall. Thunderstorm ahead, and they are our three winning drivers heading to the podium.
Activate.
Jetlar Racing then take the win from Algarve Pro Racing's 25 crew in the 4 CrowdStrike Racing by APR car. In GT, it would be Kessel Racing's 74 Ferrari beating up a challenge from Team WRT's 69 BMW and the 87 Origin Porsche. CLX Racing's 17 car leads the 23 events racing number 71 and the 29 from Forestia Racing by VPS in LMP3. The overall podium, the number 4 and number 25 crews for either side, but it is the 47 Jetlar Racing crew of Roberto Lacorte, Sharma Lacey and Antonio Fuoco, joined on the podium by Amata Ferrari, a second win of the weekend and maximum points for the races at least, if not qualifying here in Malaysia. That will give the Italian team a real advantage as we move to the second phase of the championship in February, ahead of the Algarve Pro and CrowdStrike Racing by APR teams, but with other teams scoring decent points. Just takes one fumble in the 4 races to come and things could be very, very different before the end of 2 double-header weekends to come in a championship with very deep talent. The 29 crew with Restia Racing by VPS and the 71 crew from 23 events take the podium, but it is the winning trio from CLX Motorsport, the 17 crew of Alex Jacobi, Kevin Rabin and Paul Ancher that take the top step and the win on Sunday. That would be enough as the champagne gets sprayed to seal their position pre-Christmas at the top of the points, 5 points clear of Enduro Point competition and a further 12 ahead of the 29 crew. So a lot still to play for. Jacobi, Rabin and Ancher, of course, need the driver's trophy. 4 full race points still to come. GT and the Origin Motorsport Porsche crew and the BMW WRT crew either side. Kessel Racing's trio of Dustin Blattner, Dennis Marshall, Chris Lullum take the win. That will put them in a great place in the championship, but a very different looking podium will give a very different looking point score than the other 2 classes. It's very close indeed, 35 to 33, 74 Kessel from 9 get speed, and yet then the Origin Porsche 10 points further back. 4 results still to come in this championship, meaning that anything can happen, and usually does, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
So, rain stopped play here in Malaysia for our second Asian Le Mans Series race, but a perfect weekend for the Cetilar racing team of Roberto Lacorte, Charles Malaysia and Antonio Fuoco. 2 out of 2. Now the championship takes its Christmas break, but we reconvene in Dubai at the end of January for 2 more races, and then just a week later we go to Abu Dhabi for the last 2 races of the Asian Le Mans Series.